Have you ever encountered a problem like this? Or like this? Why do some models split apart even though they look perfect? Most often than not, problems often arise due to three things: calibration, hollowing, and drilling. In our previous video, we covered an entire full workflow. Today, we zoom into one key aspect within CHITUBOX: hollowing. In CHITUBOX, hollowing isn't just about creating an empty space inside of the model. It's about setting the correct wall thickness. It's about making sure that you have an even flow through the entire model using entries and exit holes. It can also reduce the stress put on the printer, the peeling force. Done correctly, it can reduce the stress and peeling force on the printer and can improve the overall printing success rate. This step affects three major things: how much resin you use, how the print behaves during printing, and what happens inside the hollow space as resin flows in and out of the model. Hollowing reduces the overall resin usage, lowers the stress on the printer during printing, turns the model into a solid hollow shell with a defined wall thickness that can be controlled. It makes the model lighter and more efficient to print, and also easier to manage during curing and washing process. Keep the wall thickness balanced. Not too thin, not too thick. Thin models and small models like this, 32mm, typically should not be hollowed. They can lose the strength and, if hollowed incorrectly, can fail. Evaluating each model with your eyes is very important. Some models I have prepared here, for example, some of them are practical to hollow. For example, this base on this 75mm model can be hollowed in the base, but it's not practical to hollow the actual model itself. Bigger models, like this one here, as you can see, has a very big cliff-like structure, which can be very easy to hollow. This very fine detailed dragon, however, can be very tricky to hollow. And the reason why it can be tricky is because where you need to put the holes for the drainage and entries. Wings typically should not be hollowed. And if you look carefully, I don't know if you can see it, but light can pass through these wings. Therefore, it is not practical to hollow them. They're simply too thin. Look for features that can be hollowed easily, like thick walls or something. Try to avoid looking at narrow limbs or small details. They are not suitable for hollowing. Thin details or detailed weaponries or very small objects typically should be avoided. Always look for very large structures when you're trying to hollow, and also try to eye up the model where you can hide your holes. For example, hide behind the dragon, hide underneath the base. Things like this makes your print much more professional looking. This is typically what you would like to look after. Always look for how resin moves inside of your model. Try to make sure that there is no trapped air or pockets where resin can gather or air can gather. Make sure that you visualize your print before you do anything. Visualizing the print helps you gather information about the print. So for example, this print here was very good to have like this. So it stands very tall, it has no pockets for air to create, and resin cannot get stuck, as an example. So eyeing up the model and visualizing the model is very important. Make sure that the entry holes and the exit holes lines up with orientation of the model and gravity. You want to have it as straight as possible, like in and out, entries and exits. By making sure that your holes align with gravity and, of course, with how you have your model in orientation, it will allow the resin to move freely, and it will make it easier for your printer to print it because it will be less peeling force. So that is what we're looking for. By making sure that we have accomplished this, it improves the reliability of the print. Before you begin your slice in the printer, visualize the model and plan it out. How is the resin going to flow? How can we make sure that it goes in and out, and how can we make sure that it goes reliably? So planning out the model is something that you always do in the first step. Now, let's head over to the software and let's go over things. To make this workflow effective, you need to have a few key rules. The holes, first of all, needs to allow the resin to flow, not just sit on the surface. Use at least 2 entry holes and 2 exit holes to ensure the proper drainage through the model. So if we take a look here on this model here that I have prepared for you, there is 2 holes here, 2 holes there, and there is 2 holes there. And on the bottom we have holes here and here, as you can see, right there. Right, after that, ensure that you actually check your model because the size of the holes is dependable on the model. Not everyone supports all sizes, right? So the number and the size of the holes is dependent on the specific model itself, right? So that is what it is. After that, we have the most important thing. Avoid drilling into the infill. If you drill into the infill, it will weaken the internal structure and can lead to failed prints. And if we take a look here right now, I have prepared a few different types of infills, but I'm just gonna briefly show you how it looks. So we're gonna go up here. So if we look now into this model here, for example, and you can see that I have avoided the infill, right? You can see I've avoided the infill. And you need to make sure that you always put the holes in the specific areas there. Otherwise, you know, you weaken the structure, right? The next thing that you need to do is pay attention to the wall thickness and the strength of your resin. If you have a weak resin, the walls need to be thicker, otherwise they will not hold and they will become brittle. And if you have water washable resin, typically it is weaker unless you have really high quality resin. So it benefits from having a little bit of extra thickness on the walls. So take care of that. More durable as well, right? Water washable models also tend to be more brittle, so you need to be careful of them. After that, next thing that you have is placing the holes, right? Place the holes in smart hidden locations. Use natural features like keyholes, recesses, areas that won't be visible on the final model in itself. Entry points can be disguised in existing details. For example, places where you don't look behind rocks and stuff like that. And exit points should be below the base, because people typically don't look below the base. And prevent trap pockets of air or resin If you have pockets of air or resin in some places, it can damage your fab and increase the peeling force during the print. So you need to take care to make sure that that doesn't happen, right? So if we take a look here on these models here, you will notice that I have placed these holes just below where the dragon will be. So the holes will be where against the body of the dragon, essentially. So that is why they are hidden. So they are hidden on the backside, right? You also want to be typically that you want to make sure that the holes are going up and down. That is typically also what you want to do, right? After that, I have prepared for you a different type of infills. So as you can see here now, if we drag this one down just a little bit like this, and we're gonna select all of them so we can see all of them clearly. So we are now looking at the three main infill types in CHITUBOX. And when you're doing the hollowing inside of CHITUBOX, make sure that the infill bone is selected. That is important, otherwise it will not generate the structure. So the main infill points that we have in CHITUBOX is we have scaffolding, we have Hive, and we have the grid. And it's also very important that you match the infill density so that it is enough density, yeah. Because it will affect your print. Scaffolding is typically the first infill that you will come across, and it is ideal for most figures. It provides a good internal support, reduces the resin waste, and keeps the hollow model stable. And it's lightweight, and it's fairly efficient in general printing, so it typically is like a, all-rounder, typically. Then you have Hive. Hive is something that you probably have seen multiple times during your time in printing with 3D, because Hive is essentially the strongest natural beehive structure that we have. So it is when you need strength in your print, that is when you use the honeycomb. The honeycomb pattern is the strongest solid, and that is really good, right? So it's the strongest solid infill, offering maximum rigidity and durability. It uses more resin though, so keep that in mind, it uses more resin. But it delivers the highest structural stability. That's what it does, essentially. So the next thing that we have is the grid. The grid is the balanced version, you can kind of say. It's stronger than scaffolding, but it is lighter than the Hive, and it is reliable, sort of all-purpose infill with predictable support. It's essentially like, if you don't know, you can pick that. It typically will work, typically. The infill percentage, as we spoke about before, is very important because it's the density of the infill that you will have in your print. The higher the infill, the higher the weight and strength, and the more resin you will use. The lower the infill, saves more resin and keeps the model lighter, but it will also be weaker, so keep that in mind. You need to choose based upon how durable you want your print to be. So if you want it strong, go high. You want it a little bit weaker, go low, After that, we have a few other things that you will see as well inside of CHITUBOX. And that is, we have modes, right? So inside of the modes, we have inside, outside, and we also have the bottom through. So the inside, outside, and bottom through. Inside, outside and bottom through is different types of hollowing modes. The outer is very much different from the rest of them. It can be used to, for example, enhance tolerances on some models. So that is what it does. It removes the outer layer of your print, essentially. That's what it does. The bottom of these modes determines how you want to process your model. So depending on what you want to do with your model, that depends on what mode you're going to use. You may choose to hollow out, for example, only a single main cavity, as an example. So a quick recap: scaffolding for normal figures and resin savings, Hive for the maximum strength, grid for the balanced support. Selecting the right infill improves the print stability, strength and efficiency. After that is essentially what we have here. We have the rules that we have, right? So go over what you have learned and see what the model looks like. It's best if you visualize the model as you work with it. That's the beauty with things like CHITUBOX, right? So rule 1, hold effectiveness. You need to make sure that your holes are effective. You need to make sure that they do their job. Do you think they will prevent the pockets and have enough flow? That is essentially what you need to make sure of. Rule number 2. Did you select the correct infill and mode? That is the next thing. Did you ensure that you have enough room inside of the model to let the resin flow through it? Right? So these are the rules that we have, and these are the rules that you should apply when you do your workflows in CHITUBOX. Try to be mindful of your model, vision it, and good things will happen. This covers everything for today. We hope you find it helpful. If you would like to see more of this type of content, please click the like symbol down below and subscribe. It helps us a lot. If there is anything you want us to take up, please write a comment down below. We try to answer most of your comments. The model that we used in this example will be shown after this. And as always, we hope you learned something and see you guys next time.